Okay, good morning. This is Simon with toughtrader.com. I am running way behind this morning. I'm so sorry. So let's jump right into it. Quick notes: past performance is not indicative of future results. This is for educational purposes only. I'm sharing my trade plan with you in hopes that it'll make you a better trader. A couple of things I wanted to jump into. First of all, when we look at the TPO for today, there's Russell. Hold on one second. Here is ES. There we go. Okay, to go through our basic concepts to make sure we know exactly where we're at, and I'm going to do this fast this morning so we know exactly what we're looking at. Number one, we are currently trading at, wow, this would open. Do not have my trading domes open. One second. Dome. Not good. Let's try this again. That should do it. There we are. Okay, so ES is down 3, NQ is down 9.5. So a couple of important concepts when we start the day. Number one, it's Monday. Monday's normally a balanced day. I understand that last week we had no balanced days. They were all pretty much up. We had one balanced day in there, but they're all pretty much up. My primary objective is to look for rotations lower and get long out of those rotations lower. I plan to push my long side trade more than my short side trade. My guess is even if we correct in price to the downside, the rotations up will be more profitable than the rotations down. The reason for that is the rotations down will most likely all occur very early in the day. They'll be brutal and fast, and then we will grind it back up as people try to get back into the trade, right? My objective is to pass on the first half hour so that I can gauge the volatility that's involved in the market, right? So a couple of things. Number one, overnight, we pushed to a Globex high on ES of 27.47 and 3/4. Let me jump over there. Window, arrange all. And you know what? No one has sent me a message, but I bet I did not send out the wow, guys, I apologize. Give me 1 second. I did not send out the TradeStation file, and no one has sent me a question as to whether or not I have. So I'm not sure what's happened there, but either way, I'll get that fixed. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, there we go. Sent out. So Globex high, ES. Let's switch these around. Wow, I'm so disorganized this morning, guys. We'll get this under control relatively quickly. 27.3650, Globex low. So all we've done overnight is push into Friday's value area high, right? I'm going to show you all that in just a second. Globex high came in at 27.4775. Right? People obviously top printed that trade. Okay, so number one, we have shaken loose the late buyers for the first time in over a week, right? So the first question will be is, can we get back up to retest this? And can we get past the closing print from Friday, right? That's what you're looking at on ES to figure out whether we're bullish or bearish. But there's one more component to that, right? If we look, and I'm obviously going to run over into the open. I'm not trading the first half hour, so I'm just going to slow it down one little pace here. If we look, there we go. The critical component is getting below and essentially holding below Friday's low. All the way through here, we have failed to even trade below the prior day's low. The first clue that there's a change of foot, right? The first clue that there's a change of foot is getting below and just simply trading there. Don't even have to close there, right? Just simply trade underneath and pop back up. You stopped one timing. First clue, right? So what are the critical elements I want in my notes? Can I trade below 27.34? First question that I have in mind. Why? That's essentially the volume point of control and the TPO point of control. If I can't trade below there, I expect them to push back up and at least come back and try to retest Friday's high, the closing print, and possibly Globex high, which is floating somewhere up here. That's plan one, right? So I want to get my background information well. I already know I want to get underneath my last best buyer and my last best seller, right? I already know that in terms of strategically how I want to execute my trade when I get there, right? I don't want to draw too many conclusions. I've been looking for a downside open for the last couple of weeks. I hope they press to the downside inside the first 2 hours so that I can come in and find in that balance area in the middle of the day between London close and New York lunch, I can find location to get long, right? Next, if I get below here, there's a naked volume point of control. This is important to put your notes. It's right below 27.27. It's an NVPOC. It was almost, this area was almost tested. I think we missed by like a fraction of a hair testing this. This is actually my next area that I would be targeting to get a high odds long right here at 27.12.75. Okay. Additionally, the breakout came at 2,700, right? So what are we likely to get for the day? We closed at 27.34. We're trading at 27.40. Realistically, we get 20 down, right? Put us in the 27.20 neighborhood. We haven't had 20 down in forever. That gets us just past the volume point of control, and it gets us into these single prints over here to the left, right? How big a stretch is it down to this volume point of control? 27.12 from 27.40, 30 down. Pretty unlikely to happen in one session, but it could, especially on a Monday, which is normally the narrowest range day of the week. I would focus somewhere between the open print that's been untested. See all the way down here? We have one open print. A focus between that open print and the top of this open gap. And then in between here, there's one more place, right? Because we want to see where we can get the stretch and where it's logical. There is a mid. I can control this. Okay. Down here, between these 2 points is a modified half gap. See that right there? Right there, 27.16 1/4. That area is the highest odds to get a response. What I'd want is to come into 27.16, trap back inside this low, and then push back for the 27.25. I seriously doubt we even get there, but why not at least plan for the potentiality of having the market push lower. Give me just 1 second here. Okay, number 2 on the list. Let's go do NQ really quick. And by the way, I'll insert tick here real quick. And tick is opening at a modest 39. So again, not much to be overly concerned with yet. And the question is, can we start with coming up and testing for the gap fill, or do we drive down pretty hard? And I don't know the answer to that just yet. And I'm simply waiting to find out. Hold on 1 second here. Okay, let's switch over to NQ. Globex high on NQ was, once we'll have things settle down, it'll be a little bit easier here. 66.81 1/4. Wow, that's actually a pretty good push up. Okay, and Globex low came in at, which I don't think we've hit yet, 66.53 and a quarter. And guys, things should be returning pretty close to normal pretty quickly for me here in the next couple of days. I know I've been running late the last week. Okay, so importantly, when on NQ, right? Let's switch over here really quick. NQ. There we go. Again, I'm not particularly interested in trading first thing this morning. So first thing you'll notice on NQ, we're already trading inside of Friday's value area. What do we expect inside of Friday's value area? Chop and grind, right? We either want to be below. Let's erase this and just do this step by step. Okay, number one, value area low. We have to get below that in order to have a downside move, 66.34. We obviously have not accomplished that to this point. Value area high, which is what we're banging against right now, 66.68. We obviously have to move, we have to hold underneath, and then we have to get below this critical area right here, where this is the TPO point of control and the volume point of control. We're essentially sitting at 66.52 to 66.48, which, if I just recall correctly, that's exactly where we ended up. That's exactly where we ended up in Globex, for Globex low last night, right? So, number one, if I get underneath here, this part of the chart right here needs to be repaired on the bottom end. So just getting underneath value area low is not the only critical part. Actually, getting below the 66.27 is key, right? The best support area, if we break below, is this NVPOC, right here, 65.99 down to about 65.90 area, right? That's hands down the best area on the entire chart. There's zero question in my mind about that. I know that that's the best area on the chart. By the way, NQ, you'll notice again that they are attempting to push up. Again, ES is pretty neutral, and I want to point out the advanced decline line, just so everyone has it right out of the gate. We're sitting at 0.98 on the advanced decline line in ES, right? And advancers are 12.55. That does not mean we go straight down, but that is the weakest advanced decline open we've had in, I think, a week and a half. So if we go back, here we are at 12.50, and everything except for this date right here, and even here, this is a 30-minute chart, right? If you look at the 5-minute, if we bust that out on the advanced decliners, and you look back to the beginning of the week here, we'll crunch this down a little bit so you see the first 5 minutes. And you'll see all week long, we were just opening above that 1500 mark as you scale through there, right? You can see we opened up slightly underneath this advanced decline on the 3rd, but we quickly, within the first 5 minutes, got above 1500, right? So all I'm saying is opening underneath that 1500 is really a first step and showing that we don't have the same strength that we had all last week. It doesn't mean they can't step back in and push it, but I would be surprised. See, this is the last time back on the 28th we opened up, and this was underneath the 1500, and you can see we rolled down from 2687 all the way down to 2663. So about a 5-point rotation lower with a weak advanced decline, and that's telling me immediately, you know, I don't have to be too eager to jump in on this. That gives us time to think through the process, right? Which is obviously very important to me. Okay, so let's continue our thought process here, right? On NQ, I know I have to get underneath this value area. I know I have to repair the chart here, right? So that means at 66.34 to 66.27, that's going to be a rotation down from 66.70, right? Is going to be approximately a 40-point rotation lower, just past a 30-point rotation. A 100-point rotation, 66.68, right, puts me down into 65.68 neighborhood. That's all the way down here. I want to show you this because this is actually capable. A minus 100 day would not be outrageous, right? And that puts us at these two naked volume points of control, 65.99, and then this other one right here, sitting at roughly 65.84. If I had one place where I'd really want to make sure that if I initiate a long position, I'd want to have all the pieces in place to make sure that I get paid properly there, right? This is going to be that This is going to be that location, right? All this other stuff, this will probably work, but this is where I want to go, okay, I want to establish a position here to get a swing back to the upside. That is my entire objective through this process, is to make sure that I am able to get long, and then where I'm going to say I want to lock and load. We're in a bull market, right? This has been the best run ever. Dips should be buyable. I can't stress that hard enough. Dips should be very, very buyable. Okay, so what we're looking for specifically, let's go to the mechanics. So we already know what the neighborhood looks like. We're opening inside value. We are inside value and on NQ. We would generally expect it to chop, not go directional, to chop inside of value, right? I don't expect everyone to show up on Monday morning and go, oh my God, let me get out of my position, right? I expect some profit taking, then I expect some rotation back up. That's how it generally works, okay? Number two, right? What else am I looking for in this process? I know that I've got to get below Friday's volume point of control and TPO point of control in order to have any weakness. So I want to watch the price action. This would make a natural magnet back to the downside. I want to watch the price action when I get there. I know when I get to 66.34, my natural target is back to 66.52. If I get in there, the chart is repaired from Friday at that point and it's actually a little bit higher. If I'm going to be really where I want to watch is starting at 66.38 down to 66.27, okay? And then the volume point of control lower. Realistically, given how much pain the market has taken, those are pretty realistic targets on the market, right? So even though we're down, we're not down enormously out of the gate, and I don't see anything falling apart. I'll go back and look at the tick, right? There's no pain coming out of the gate right now. Would you say there is, Ron? I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood what I just said. Yeah, there's no pain here. There's no pain that can even start till you get past the volume point of control, right? So that's the beginning part of figuring out. There'll be no pain for any longs. The only people who are in pain are the people who high printed overnight, right? The Russell 2000 is falling apart. Okay, that's good. Like I said, we're due for a correction. I see what you say. We sliced right through, gap down, open drive lower. So again, I don't think there's a rush. I think that there'll be responsive buyers. Right here, let me spread this out so everyone can see it, guys. Again, that's the biggest negative tick in the first half hour. It's not shocking that people are taking profits at all, right? And remember, so someone asked me a very good question on Friday I want to jump over to real quick. Again, I'm not planning to do anything in the first half hour. If someone's just, dying to get into a trade, that's understandable. It's just not me. I don't have a big need to trade the first half hour. I think that I'll have opportunities coming about the second hour of the day, right? And it's really important. It's the beginning of the month. We were profitable last week, right? Not usually. I didn't catch the move up. I don't want to let I'm treating the move up last week as a distraction, and this is why it's a distraction. I have no problem covering this like a distraction. It is a distraction, right, because of the fact that I feel anxiety about performance early in the year, right? So I'm just going to flow with that distraction and let the market come in, right, and not try to overguess on things. So someone asked me a really good question on Russell, and Mike's in the room. Mike, I'm going to answer your question right now. Mike asked me whether I went long Friday afternoon right here. I did not, Mike, and the reason why is I don't have all my stats down on the Russell yet to figure out what my stops need to be on this trade and what my risk-reward picture looks like. I'm working on it. I don't have the answer, but you are correct. If you look, we flushed down, right? Came in, got responsive buyer, got above. So there's two ways of looking at this, and both trades worked. I want to point this out, okay? Technically, this was my last best seller, was back over here to the left. This one right here at 1140, and this is where I got above that last best seller. Okay, so according to my internal indicators, this was my last best seller. You see we closed above them, backside tested, and took off. It was a really nice trade, right? That was a test from 1155, 1555 all the way up to 1560. It's a good trade, right? If you wanted to be aggressive, I wanted to address this because I think you're asking. If you want to be aggressive, technically, we got above our last seller. I don't count the doji down here. I'd count this guy's my last seller. This was the where we got above. Okay. The problem with taking this trade, well, so the nice thing about taking this trade is you had a nice tight stop. No big deal there. It was basically $100 a contract, and you had great RR. What you just had to be aware of when you're managing this trade, Mike, is that you got above your last best seller at 1555, right? Once you got this, you knew you were in the clear, and now you could simply leave your stop there. But this was the bogey that you had to get above in order to make that push work. I don't have all my stats complete yet to make that trade work for me. So I am on hold. Russell will be the last one that I add, but I'm working on it now. I just haven't had time to finish out the stats. Once the kids are all back at school, daycare, wife is back at her practice, I will be able to put all my 100% attention into finishing those stats out and adding the trade. So hopefully that answered the question for you, Mike. Anyways, long story short, this process works almost across all products, right? And it's because it's psychological, right? Think about it. You got your impulse move right here, right? It's the best upside bar you've had in this entire rotation down. If I'm going to take a bet, I'm going to take a bet after I get a trade like this. This was your second opportunity. The problem is this bar on a true trend day down will just be a head fake and it'll roll to the downside. This bar really gets you above your last seller. And again, you can see it in the stats when you go look on the charts. And you can tell this, and the reason you can tell is look how tight the price action. See the price action right here? Look how it just died. See that? Everyone was trying to press back against this guy. See how here it's actually pretty still whipping up and down, and the whips just died right here. Everyone's trapped, everyone covers, and it's off to the races now for those guys. So that's my 2 cents on that. This is all a psychological read. None of this will change. My biggest question for this week is, does the volatility change? Does the volatility increase? And let me tell you why that's important for us, right? It doesn't do us any good to have wider ranges if you don't adjust your trade size to it and you don't catch it early, right? All of us have been in that position where we go, oh, there's my 5-point rotation. All of a sudden, we're in 20-point rotations. If we let that first hour, the best way to avoid getting caught in a rotational size increase is 2 things that are very important, okay? Thing number one, let me get to this. Number one, the size of the bar is increased. That's the biggest down bar in Russell I've seen in quite a while, right? So either you look in the first hour and go, wow, we really had a massive increase in rotational size in the first hour, and push out to 10 to 20-point rotations, right? Don't try to get so eager on the 4 and 5-point rotations. Thing number 2, intraday. If the average rotation, and people always miss this, when they look back, I'm coaching, I'm like, yeah, I should have caught that. Where I see guys take 2 or 3 stops in a row. If all the bars in a 5-minute bar are 2 to 4 points in rotation, all of a sudden you get a 10-point bar, right? That is an increase in range. Take a step back. So what I'm going to do from here, right? Obviously, I'm not bearish. We're trying to push back up on NQ. Buyers are still coming in. I am not of the camp that we are at all bearish, right? I have a couple other things I want to show y'all, but I want to get my chart set up. So I'm going to take 2 minutes, 3 minutes to get my charts in the proper order, and I will be right back. And then we'll discuss the strategy for this week and how we're going to pull money out of this market. Outside of I'm waiting to get underneath or above my best seller, right? One of the two. And then I'm skipping the first half hour because ranges have been increasing. I'm looking for pushes lower. Don't get me wrong. I am not bearish. I am not looking for a correction down. If we get it, I still think the best trades will be to the upside, right? But I have no desire to come in and be the first one to push the short side trade. And you can see everyone except those in the Russell, anyone who shorted since the open this morning is having a difficult time making any P&L out of that trade. I'll be right back, guys. Okay, guys. So lastly, right, let's go over to the other charts and look at the big picture. UH. Let's look at the 24-hour. Both of these, that's fine. There we go. On NQ. So obviously there's nothing for me to do here. I'm not going to short when it's running straight up. So a couple of things. This is the first morning we haven't opened above R1 or R2 or near R1 or R2. First sign that there's some type of potential issue, right? I would also have, because traders are going to play off of it, that pivot point at 66.46 and 66.21. Not that it's anything special, but traders are going to look at it and go, oh, there's support 1, support 2, and support 3. Support 2 should definitely find responsive buyers at 65.78. Again, not a shock, right? From 66.70 to 65.70 is a 100-point rotation down. Not shocking at all, right? Additionally, from the 24-hour time frame, the purple line is the VWAP. You'll notice this is the first day we've really opened below VWAP all the way through last week. There's some character changes here, right? What we want to do, right? What we want to do is we want to find where profit taking's coming in, and I'll go through this later this morning. But we want to go in and find where profit taking is coming in and showing us opportunity, right? Showing us opportunity to catch sellers off guard, right? So in this particular case, on this 24 hours, you'll see that the ratio of buyers to sellers before the open was heavy to the sell side, right? That does not mean there was heavy sell volume pre-market. For those who aren't familiar with how I use this, it simply means, right, that when sellers came in, right, the number of, for the volume that was going off, the majority of the volume was on the bid side, right? So what am I looking for here? I'll tell you right now. I'm looking to get one green bar positive like this in here, and then get underneath that last seller and backside test it, right? Now, not from the RTH to the US session, but during the US session, I'm looking to get this same setup, get underneath the seller, and then if this appears, right, where I get the first green buyer, then I can get underneath that green buyer. That is where I will attempt to swing to the short side from, right? I want to be clear. If I can get that, then it's an if-then statement, right? So first I need to get the green bar to push underneath, right? And then I need to see if it'll set up so that I can get that extension to the downside, right? So again, I'm focused not on theory or if we'll pull back or when we pull back. I'm focused very much on letting the market simply prove to me that we can pull back, right? And then once we pull back, I want to look to be a buyer. What's the reason for this? Because we just had, if you look at through this process, right? Everyone and their brother, every video I watched this weekend talk about how the market's overextended and how the market should pull back. And all these things about market should be getting weaker. We should come back and fill. If you look, one of the things I saw this weekend, if you look at the profile here, let me duplicate this chart simply. And we'll do ES and NQ. Analysis, clean chart, trace all lines. Okay, so if we go from here, right, actually, let's just go back to the breakout. Oh, that's January 2nd. There we go. So let's go from here all the way up here. And you look at that profile, right? You will see that the point of control is back at 6,600. Everyone that I saw, whether you drew it from a day standpoint or a 24-hour standpoint, and I'll draw both, right? Everyone expects this to get retested. You'll see that we put in a lot of volume here, that it ran into a wall trying to break out. On the backside, we broke above, we backside tested, we continued, that it would be pretty normal to come back in and have this retested, build up energy for a breakout back to the upside. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. The only problem I have with that is that anywhere through here, you could have made the same argument. Hey, it should come back and test this volume point of control, right? Additionally, when you look at what are potential swing lows or potential swing highs in this trade, right? When I look at this is my last consolidation period, right? We got above and we pushed. I've got to get behind 66.4675, right? I'll say that again. I've got to get behind 66.4675 in order to be able to push down, right? So right now, all this is, from the overnight perspective, is backing and filling. But if I don't get underneath this area right in here, there is no short. Once I get underneath this short, let's go talk about critical areas. This was my last swing low right here at 66.13, right? And then I had the point where I ran the volume point of control. Within that structure, right? Within this structure above, what you will see, so I drew this right up to this minute, right? We have a low volume node. I'm going to erase these lines one more time because you have different players looking at different aspects of the chart, trying to make trading decisions as to how they think the market will play out one way or the other, right? So if you look here, we have a pronounced low volume node right in here, untested, 66.40 to 66.35. Again, that brings up that 66.47. Even if we get underneath that, you should run into a wall at 66.40, 66.35. And they are obviously, right, if you picture this, we come down, we test in, they're going to come back up against that 66.40, and that becomes a critical trap point. Can we get above or can we not get above? Either way, that's what the question will be when we're in that area. Can we get above or can we not get above? Number two, if we get underneath here, right? Notice how this profile doesn't have any very large low volume nodes, right? I would argue that if we get below that 66.35, that 6600 becomes a pretty easy test to that point, right? And then my last argument would be is if we do get to 6600, it would make sense to me for them to shake below and come in and test this low volume node right there at 65.90. Make sure you leave enough room when if you're just buying a free fall. If we get into that, if you're buying a free fall, that make sure you get into enough room to capture that. And then from a 24-hour perspective, this all needs to be filled back in. I don't know how we're going to get back there given the current strength that the market has to retest it, but sure, it needs to be retested, and we can discuss that when and if that occurs. Okay, let's go look at this from a day time frame standpoint. Okay, this profile did not change, right? Because it leaves it on there when you change the time frame, right? So take a picture of that, right? Now take a look at the same picture. I'm going to draw another profile to show how this changes, right? From the day time frame. Oh, hold on, let's erase this. Maybe it did leave it. Hold on, let's try this. Analysis, clean charts. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Draw volume profile. Here we go. Okay, still from the day time frame, 6600 is the high volume node. You'll notice in here, low volume node pronounced right here at 66.58. So it's a little bit different on the 24-hour than it is on the RTH, but it's still in the general neighborhood. My guess, and you'll see this morning we came right down to that 66.58 and we found responsive buyers. We know we have to get below this bridge right here where we consolidated in order to make it below. There are low volume nodes in here, but they're not pronounced, at least to me, right? 1, 2, 3. Expect counter rotations at those areas, but not major, from this perspective, not major turns. Again, we'll let the market determine where it wants to have a major turn or doesn't want to have a major turn. And then lastly, right, when we get in here, remember, everyone's going to be gunning for this high volume node. And the reason why that's important is you tend to pack in shorts who are going to try to cover perfectly. And they are likely to get, you know what? There is no modified half gap because this is high to high. I take it back. Dalton's gap's already been filled here. From an RTH perspective, we backside tested Dalton's gap. So it's not even the modified half gap. It's really the gap fill. And remember, if you're trading that gap fill, everyone likes to trade gap fill, right? 66.04. Remember, the volume point of control is actually behind it. Let the market come to you in here, right? It should be pretty hairy. Everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, we're underneath. It's important to remember if they make a big push underneath and they get back to 66.16, 66.15, that you'll have trapped a lot of traders And that's particularly if the volume point of control is not shifted lower and we build a big volume point of control in here, that will end up acting as a magnet for a push back to the upside. Let's go look at ES really quick, and then we'll see where the market's, if the market's doing anything with that we can trade. So far it's chop, and that makes sense because, right, we're inside Friday's value, we're inside Friday's range, right? NQ's up 3 points and ES is down 2 points, and neither one of them look like they want to do anything besides consolidate a little bit at this point. By the way, the advancers are still at, jumping around here, but let's get back over. Advancers are at 1190, right? Again, not the stuff of markets that run. Decliners are 1576 issues. The advanced decline ratio is 0.75. That's the weakest I've seen in a week. I would expect to find that would generate some profit taking in there. I'm not sure where it generates the profit taking, but I would expect it to find some profit taking. Let's see if anyone else has any other questions. No, not all of them, Dan. I don't call my scalps in real time. They're too fast and they distract too many people. That's never worked. I've tried it multiple times. It does not work. People hate it. They feel it's a distraction. I am not calling all my trades in real time. A great example of that is I faded the open. But that doesn't go down in the trade record as a positive trade or a negative trade. It just doesn't exist as far as the room's concerned. I wouldn't call it. I literally took a trade in the first 30 seconds. Right? That doesn't make any sense unless you're very advanced and you're totally willing to take a stop out of the gate. I had no idea. Like and I did it in ES. Had I done it in NQ, I would have had a stop. Right? So I took ES to the short side. I covered it pretty quickly. Yeah, so I don't call out every trade. Let's go do ES really quick. And we'll just turn this into ES. We'll do it in the opposite direction. First, we'll do it from the daytime frame perspective, and then we'll move from there. Okay. From swing low to swing high. All right. Okay. Number one, a couple of things. I'd have this drawn on ES, right? That's got to go, right? That doesn't go. Very little downside can be had. That trend line has to be broken, right? There's other trend lines in here. Most notably, this one has to be broken down here. This has to get broken. This has to get broken. But the first thing that has to get broken is that from a trend line perspective. And market so far is showing no inclination to want to break that yet. So remember, you don't have to be overly aggressive. Number two, see this low volume node here? See how we came right off? Oh, we haven't gotten there. My guess would be that 2735, that low volume node to 2734. My guess is you're going to find at least a tradable counter rotation there, right? Same thing with between this low volume node right here at 2728 and 2723. That whole area becomes important. You can see the structure that was put in there. That was our balance day, right? See, we gapped above and went. This is the gatekeeper right now, right? Because if we get underneath that, then you'll see a couple things come into play here. So I would have these listed out on my trading notes. The modified half gap right here, which would be almost entirely impossible to reach today, but 2716 area, right? Very, very important area at 2716. I would expect a responsive buy down there. If we get there, granted, it's not that far away, but we're going to have to see a change in character to get us into that neighborhood, right? Additionally, this wants to be filled in, right? It's completely empty. This is your high volume node, right? So expect that to act as a magnet, right? And it's really important, expect chop in this area. Do not expect it to come in and shoot out of here, right? Expect it to come, counter rotate, balance, chop in and out. Why? because that's what we do around high volume nodes. These make good targets back down. If I was short, right, if I was setting up a short where I was short 27.40 against the high, this would be my target if I were a swing trader, and I know it's going to chop around here. Expect a quick response between here and here, somewhere in that area. Once we get into that 17 to 13 area, I would expect a strong upside response out of that trade location. Okay. And then if we get below that 27.13 and we get past that open gap, there's no point in talking about it. It's almost impossible to reach today. This area eventually wants to be reauctioned. And the important thing about that area getting reauctioned is that is a retest of the consolidation and the breakout again at 26.98. I don't expect that to happen anytime soon, but that's really your ladder as the profile looks at it. Let's see how that changes from a 24-hour perspective, if at all. Okay, that's the same chart from a 24-hour perspective again. 27, just above 27.24 is the point of control. This profile looks pretty balanced, right? All the way through. The biggest, most glaring area that wants to get reauctioned in here is this area right in here. I'd have this in my notes. Again, I don't expect it to happen today. Here to here needs to be filled in, and here to here needs to get filled in. And I would expect responses out of that location if and when we can manage to make it. Down there, it would take, from what I can tell, quite a bit of effort. And you're going to have to convince people that the market's actually going to have an ability to roll lower to get them to sell. I don't know what that will take in order to make that happen. So I'm not worried about it right now. From perspective of the day time frame, if I was a swing trader and I was short, this would be my target. And again, you're going to have to get below this consolidation point at 27.34. There's a pronounced low volume node right in front of it. There's another low volume node right here. This is interesting because it's at the bottom of consolidation at 27.28. Remember, what people do is they stack up and go, oh, we're going to come test the volume point of control. This would be a great place because of that low volume node right there to have everyone stack up thinking we're going to tag 24 and trap them, right? And then rebound it back up and come back up and test the top of balance, right? Because the bottom of balance there was 27.28. This is a higher time frame chart. So 27.28 was the higher time frame there. And it would be very interesting to see us push below and fail to make that volume point of control and get a push back up. I would anticipate that and look for a trap in here to get above my last best seller and a push back up. So that's it. That's the day. And my plan was to take it very, very easy this morning, right? Which I have accomplished. I did not want to get chopped out of the gate, and I want to see if sellers will step in. The advanced decliners tell us not to expect a push to the upside here. Now the only question is, can we come in and see some profit taking, which I would hope to see into London close. And then I'm going to look, my main idea of the day is to look between London close and New York close to see if we can get a push down and I can trap this seller stepped in. Got it. To see if they will push lower, right? And then I can trap some late sellers who are panicky to get out of their position. Looks like we finally found a seller. So that's my 2 cents. I'm sorry I wasn't here earlier to run that out. I know it sucks. A lot of y'all are trying to trade that first half hour. I wasn't. I'm letting the first hour go. I want to see the rotation sizes and then adapt as quickly as possible. I just know, nice job, Ron. I know not to get overly bearish, overly early. It makes for bad trading and loss of capital. I don't like loss of capital, right? I want to remind everyone of the same thing. It's going to be a long year. There's going to be a lot of money to be made, right? The whole objective here is to hold on to your money. I want to say that again. Hold on to your gains and stack those chips. Nothing else, honestly, really matters. It simply doesn't. When you look at the bigger picture, it does not matter from that perspective. I can tell you right now, it never does. It never will. That was a great short, Ron. The internals told you that was going to be an okay trade. It'd be interesting if they can actually get it down 10 points. Anyways, let's get focused on the charts here. I'll take this down. Anyone have any questions in the room? Everyone clear? Internal still showing pretty weak. As you can see, people are pretty willing to step in consistently. I'm not, but they are, and that's all right. Hold on a second here. And again, because we're at new all-time highs, just because other traders will be targeting them, 66.51 on NQ and on ES. Why is this all off? Chart settings, RTH. There we go. I do not like how my charts are looking at the second. $27.37.50 is the pivot point for ES. See, they're front running it, not shockingly. It got tested early in the day, and we already bounced off of it. I'll share it so everyone can see it. That was the pivot point right there. Here, I'll make it bigger so everyone can see it. All right. So you can see it's pretty mechanical when they're doing that. They're not driving over, right? This is my last best buyer over here. This is my close below. This is right off the open. So if you're aggressive on the short side, right, that was my last best buyer right there. And notice, so this is why I'm skipping the first half hour. Notice we've gotten above my last best seller, right? And I've gotten below my last best buyer. So I have to have a leaning one way or the other. My guess would be I can lean against that 27.39.40 against the high of the day for a rotation lower. I would normally be taking this trade, except given the internals, except, and this is the except, right? We're so bullish for the last 5 days. I actually want to see him break the buyer's backs first. And so that people will actually, we can't go down if people don't believe it can go down. So why take the risk, right? Is really what I'm trying to say. And I've said it. So that's my 2 cents. And we haven't broken their backs on NQ at all. You can see it's just a whipsaw back and forth. There's just nothing for me to do in here. So that's my 2 cents. I would start looking for responses on NQ down around below 66.56, 66.57, right? That would be a neighborhood I'm interested in putting some risk in on for a quick rotation back to 66. I mean, it's all chop, right? There's just nothing. Look at this chart here, right? You haven't missed anything if you haven't taken a trade outside of, unless you are skilled at scalping through here, right? What does this do? This is a blender. What does this do? This is a blender. If you guess right, you get paid. You guess wrong, you lose. That's how blenders work, right? There's no clear location. At least I don't think there is, where anyone could have looked at this chart and gone, oh my gosh, I should have totally been long there, that we're going to swing another 40 to 50 points up on NQ, right? Now, they may just take it and go, yeah, we're running with it. That was the correction, minus 2.75. That was the correction. You should have been long. So they're going to have to show me a rotation down for me to want to be aggressively short, right? And they're going to have to show me a rotation down for me to get long. I'm not going to have a day. So remember, I was positive but I wasn't massively positive. I can't just go out and swing for the fences in this environment, right? And there's no rule that says they must come back in and sell the market, right? And anyone who's trying to get them to do that is having a very, very challenging time right now. That's all there is to it. And I don't want to be in that boat. And I keep hearing the same thing from every trader that I respect out there is people this morning were talking about how VWAP was angled down this morning, that we've already started heading lower, that you should be prepared for a correction to the downside. I don't understand why anyone should be prepared for a correction to the downside. No, I don't see any reason why this thing is why anyone's bearish, quite frankly. Thank you, Daniel. I didn't know that. So Daniel's pointing out an error that I made, that we did open below VWAP the second day up last week. So either way, there's just nothing for me to do here, right? And I don't believe either side of the argument right now, or more appropriately, I don't see either side of the argument for entry into the trade, right? And that's what I need to see. So that's what I'm working on. And I don't quite get this, but I will fix it. There we are. And so the market's already telling you, right? Expect balance, right? You're looking for them to push to the edges to some degree. A lot of money floating out in the market right now, I can tell you that. Pretty amazing. And again, this chop isn't any easier to trade than the open drive higher or the open drive lower. What we need is a clear extension down and to get above our last seller. All right, that's going to take some work apparently. I will note ES is having a hard time pushing back up. We have not filled the gap on ES. We have on NQ. And Globex high and low stat is still open on both markets. And Russell is just, wow, just whip sign. That was ugly on Russell. Look at that. It blasted all those white zones. Internals are not improving. That may not matter. Yeah, absolutely. Daniel's having a great point. February 19th. Okay, got it, Randy. I mean, Ron, excuse me. And yes, you're absolutely correct, Daniel. We could just chop sideways and work off the excess. But the market internals say that normally when you have market internals like this, you would expect a downside rotation. Again, we're a little bit of a stranger in a strange land in terms of how this market's trading and what it's doing. So I'm totally comfortable just if we go up, let me tell you, if we go up for 300 days in a row this year, I'm probably not going to have a very good trading year, right? Because I need my trading style requires me to fade rotations up, which is really hard, right? And to buy rotations down, which we're not getting, right? So if you're a momentum guy and that's all you trade, right? And this is all we get all year long is open up and drive higher. Wow, I'm going to have a tough year. Why? Right? I just don't think that's going to happen. I drove for a long time, and there's always a first, but I've never seen that happen. The key is going to be on spot, on point with the rotations down, realizing that we are very likely to get responsive buyers back up, right? And to let your trade stretch. That's what your compensation is for being patient right here. Guys, again at 9:30 for the guys in the YouTube room. I'll be shutting down the room. I appreciate y'all joining. Two things. If you found this useful, if you could please hit the like button. It helps me with customer service on YouTube. I'd really appreciate it. And number two, if you'd like to join us in the room, again, the focus, there's more, obviously more trade opportunities through the course of the day. Just send me an email, tradeandperform, TRADENPERFORM @gmail.com, and I'm happy to extend 5-day pass. So I'll be killing that transmission in about 4 minutes. Expect algos in the next couple of minutes. Just impressive move on NQ. Again, trapping back below Friday's high for a second time would be concerning, right? After they try to make the break, and especially if they miss Globex high this first time through. If we got back underneath 66.71, Ron, I'm going to share that. Ron says put a big circle on your calendar, January 31st. It's month end, full moon, first FOMC meeting of the year. 1 down, 2 down, 3 down. You get all three of that's very funny, Ron. You get all three of your needs met all in one day. So there you go. I'll be skipping January 31st. I do not care to be involved in that. I'd be looking for potential reversal on NQ up here in this neighborhood. Backside test of that white zone was rejected. This white zone should also find some rejection in it on Russell. But again, that was a weird. Russell's a thin baby. You know, it can be weird when it gets hit like that. Again, the internals are still below 1500. It doesn't mean we can't advance, but it's hard to advance when it's like that. And I would be, if I were aggressive, I'd be looking for a reversal neighborhood up here on NQ, which I am aggressive, but I don't have a particular setup. It's just we're stretched. I'd like to see if a red bar in here, a seller come in, but if I did, I'd be interested. Odds are on the first red 5-minute bar on NQ, you'll finally find me taking a speculative short up here. Small in size. With a 10-point stop. So it's really just a experiment I'm trying to add to the room with. But I've got to see, first we got to close down, and it can't be outsized. Like, it can't be a 20-point stop. It's got to be, okay, I can take this with a 4 or 5-point stop. See everyone come start screaming at me here in a second. See what everyone says. This is speculative. This is just the first red bar. I don't have to get below the buyer here. That's why it's reduced size. But again, it actually has to show up with the red bar, right? So, okay, we got it. Right now, that doesn't seem to even be a remote possibility. Here comes Globex high. There's a tag above Globex high. Again, I can actually just see a seller here. So the auction up would be complete. Again, the internals are still at 1260. Advanced decline ratio on the NYSE is 0.82. That's why S&P isn't going anywhere. But Key may bring it up, right? Kicking and screaming. Again, that I haven't lost any money on the short side is fantastic. That's my objective, right? Like to be long, I actually had to have it go down into a trade location, a white zone, something, right? And what we're actually drawing up into. So the volume point of control from Friday at the close, that last bar was 2742.75, right? We may be drawing up into that on NQ. Well, we're above the close, so it doesn't matter. Got it. Okay, thank you. Ron saying that Dalton says it's pretty rare to put a high in during Globex session, but it's happened. Look at last year. We put the high in Globex. Unless I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. Exception that proves the trade rule. The question, Jess, is if we set that Globex high, I agree with that, right? You'd expect it to get broken. It's just, does that stick for the day, intraday, or does that change? Either way, we're right back to grinding up, which is why I'm just pretty good on the, hey, I'll hang out and wait for a rotation down kind of side of the scale. I was aggressive at the open. I thought we might be able to get a sweep as soon as that pushed down into and pushed away from VWAP. I just used that to cover. Everyone who thinks we should be going down is having a hard time actually getting us to go down. And again, guys, thank you all on YouTube for joining us. I'll be back tomorrow morning and hopefully on time.